Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazda. On today's show, we check in with CyRide. I'm here with Transit Director Sherry Kairos. We're at CyRide, where obviously a lot of things are going on. Sherry, tell me about this big project.
We started with construction in March, and over the summer we're trying to do a majority of the most disruptive construction on site because it is interesting trying to work around all of the construction this summer so that we can be ready by fall when we need to have most of our service out and we gear up with a lot more employees here on the facility as well. So we are in the middle of a flood protection project. Again, we flooded in 2010. So we're spending about $1 million to put a wall and gates, flood gates, so that we will be totally protected if and when there is ever, hopefully never, but if there is another flood.
As you drive along Elwood Road, you can see that, the beginning of that flood wall.
Yeah, the wall is starting to go up. It actually isn't a priority project, so they're doing it in between the other priority construction pieces, so it will slowly go up. Even into this fall, they'll get that finished as well. So right now, the majority of the construction is getting our parking lot back so that we have parking for our 160 plus employees that we have. That will start here in August. We are also doing our expansion. We will have a bus storage facility that will have additional 11 buses will be able to be in that storage facility. And then there's some other construction, small repair projects that we're doing at the same time as well.
So CyRide has seen really phenomenal growth, and we've talked about how that's sort of associated with the university, increase in enrollment. Talk a little bit about how busy is a CyRide bus?
CyRide bus. Probably busier than a lot of students would like. It's really not unusual to have 70 to 75 students on one bus, and it seats about 35 to 40, so that's a lot of people standing on a bus at one time. The articulated buses, which are the big bus and a half, bendy buses as people like to call them, will actually hold about 120 people. So it gets very crowded at times, particularly just before when class starts or just when classes have
Now,
let
the
out.
articulated buses, did they start last spring or will they start this fall?
We actually started in operation last, I think it was February or March.
Okay.
We started those in service, and they'll continue now through the fall and this next year as well. They've been a really nice addition. The students have loved them. We've got a lot of good comments about them, and they seem to be working very well on the route, the orange route, which is the lot from the commuter.
So you tend to see those bendy buses in the campus area, is that correct?
That's correct. That's where a majority of our busiest routes are, so we want to put the capacity with the bigger vehicles on those really busy routes.
So we expect an increase in enrollment even this fall for Iowa State. Are we prepared at CyRide to deal with that influx of students?
We're working on it, actually. We met with the students in June and asked for an additional 10 hours of service per day, anticipating more people being at the bus stop and needing to put more buses out there so that we don't leave people at the bus stop. That is a big emphasis for us as we deliver service in the community. So we've got that. We have 4 buses that are in our contingency fleet that we will be pulling out of our contingency fleet and getting ready to put into service this fall. We are hiring 30 new drivers over the summer in order to have enough staff in order to do it as well. So we are planning for a much larger ridership this fall. We do believe we'll be above the 6 million ridership for this next year. So
that's an
very
amazing
busy.
number, 6 million.
Right.
Really unheard of for a city of this size.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we are comparable to the Bostons and the Washington DCs as far as the number of people we carry compared to the population.
Well, getting back, it's hard to ignore the construction in here. You mentioned the parking lot, which looks great. Talk a little bit about the storage. Obviously, increased enrollment, more buses,
Right.
a need for more storage.
It is. It's been a challenge for us to keep up with being able to keep our buses inside. Obviously, in the winter, our buses don't start very well. They're very cold and very uncomfortable for our public if they aren't in a semi-heated storage area. As we've grown, that's been a challenge to keep that. So again, this expansion will have 11 more buses in our heated facility. Unfortunately, we will probably have 15 or 16 buses that need to be in that facility. So we still will be parking buses outside and we'll be working to get additional funding to build an additional storage piece when we get that funding secured.
Well, you talked about being able to, you had the ability to build on site, which is awesome, but you also had looked potentially at satellite locations. Are we trying to centralize the bus storage right here at this location?
Yeah, we went through, the Transit Board of Trustees went through a planning study, it's been probably 2 or 3 years ago now, to determine if we should continue to build on this site or if we should look for a satellite location and begin building there. And after a very long study, it was determined that it was the most cost-effective to continue to build on this site with a maximum of about 92 vehicles. We are getting close to that. With this fall, with bringing those 4 contingency buses, we will be at 88 vehicles. So we're getting close to that tipping point on what we can actually pack into this site. So that will be some conversations that we'll have to begin with the Transit Board on. If we continue to grow, how do we be able to manage that?
You mentioned the Transit Board. I know at the City of Ames we like to claim CyRide as our own, but you actually are sort of uniquely funded. Tell me a little bit about that situation.
Yes, we have a 3-party funding agreement for the local portion of our funding. It is the City of Ames, Iowa State University, and the students through the government as student body. The government and the student body through the students do a majority of the local funding. It's about $3.6 million now out of about $5.5 million of local dollars. So they do put a majority of the funding into CyRide as well. And the Transit Board then is representative of those funding parties. So we have city representatives, we have university representatives, and we have student representatives as well.
And I think what's very interesting about our transit system is that it really has had an impact on how the city itself has grown. It has allowed students to move off campus.
Absolutely, and actually that's a lot of conversations right now. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Obviously the university is starting to build some more housing, and that will have an impact one way or the other on the need for additional transit services as we move throughout the community. Obviously with the growth that the university is seeing, you're going to see growth both within the university housing as well as off-campus housing as well. So we think we will continue to be busy and adding more services as the apartment complexes and developments occur in the community as well.
Well, Sherry, I know you have a lot on your plate. Obviously, you can see the project is moving forward, but thank you for taking some time to visit with us.
Yes, thank you.
Well, it may seem like the summer is wrapping up, but still remember the Ames Public Library has lots of programs and services continuing all the way through August. Check out their website at amespubliclibrary.org. Also remember, you can keep up with all the latest and greatest at the City of Ames by checking out our website at cityofames.org or our Facebook or Twitter pages. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.